I have a business trip next weekend, so please take care of things at home and look after Mom.
What? Again? It's one thing on weekdays, but not having any weekends off is tough. You understand it's hard, right?
Even if you say that, it's work, so there's nothing I can do.
Well, that's true, but…
Then why don't you take over my work? If you do that, I'll handle things at home. Can you earn as much as I do?
That's impossible.
See? If that's the case, stop complaining and help me out.
This conversation took place before the problem arose. Looking back, it's absurd that he's constantly on business trips, even on weekends. This situation was caused by my husband's selfish behavior. We, as a couple, live with my mother-in-law. We started living together a few years ago. She suffers from dementia. Currently, her symptoms are mild, but she requires care. Initially, we thought her forgetfulness was just a minor issue, but her cognitive abilities declined. She became a bit irritable, and after a hospital visit, she was diagnosed with dementia. Meanwhile, my father-in-law, who had been dealing with chronic illness, passed away. Since then, my mother-in-law's health deteriorated further, and she started isolating herself in her room. After discussions among relatives, it was decided that my husband, as the eldest son, would take care of my mother-in-law. When I married my husband, I was mentally prepared for such a situation someday. Before developing dementia, my mother-in-law was cheerful and energetic. She gave birth to my husband when she was quite young, so she's significantly younger than my own parents. Although she was strict with my husband when he was young, our relationship was good. She was always kind to me and stood by my side. I admired and loved her deeply. Whenever my husband and I had an argument, I'd immediately report it to my mother-in-law, and she'd scold him on my behalf. His bewildered expression during those moments was quite amusing. I believe my relationship with my mother-in-law was quite harmonious. However, as I mentioned earlier, her health declined after my father-in-law's passing, and she became less active. Consequently, my husband's attitude gradually changed. Perhaps he was getting back at her for past strictness. He started acting arrogantly. Family discussions about my mother-in-law's care might have been part of my husband's strategy. Initially, my sister-in-law and her husband, who lived near my in-laws, were willing to take in my mother-in-law. However, my husband intervened.
As the eldest son, I'll take care of her.
My husband and his mother didn't get along well, despite him always being scolded by her. Perhaps it was because he was the eldest son. However, I didn't feel that way. Maybe it was intuition. When we started living together, my premonition proved accurate. Taking advantage of my mother-in-law's quiet demeanor, he freely expressed himself. He even confronted my mother-in-law, whom he had feared so much. Due to her dementia, she couldn't always understand things immediately. Yet my husband relentlessly complained. I had to intervene each time to stop him. Then came a precursor to his misdeeds. After a 3-day business trip, my husband returned home. As usual, I went to retrieve laundry from his bag. To my surprise, I found unfamiliar men's underwear. Since I always bought his underwear, this was odd. Although it was clearly men's underwear, I questioned him. "Hey, what happened to the underwear you took with you?"
Huh? Underwear?
Never seen this type before. Did you buy it yourself?
Yeah, I bought it urgently while I was away.
Why did you buy it? What happened to the underwear you took?
It was torn, so I threw it away. It was old.
But it's practically new.
Oh, really? Maybe it wasn't well made.
I see. His suspicious behavior made me wonder, but I didn't press further. Days later, another incident occurred. My husband returned from another business trip. I greeted him at the entrance. Welcome back. You look tired.
Yeah.
He seemed downcast. What's wrong? Feeling unwell?
No, it's not that. There's something important I need to tell you.
He looked resolute. My mother-in-law was already asleep. I sat in the living room, ready to listen. Then he uttered words that left me stunned.
I want a divorce.
His sudden request left me speechless.
I apologize for surprising you. Please consider divorcing me.
Why? What's going on?
Honestly, I've fallen in love with someone else. We've been having an affair. I'm sorry.
The underwear incident suddenly made sense. But there was more. You've been deceiving me all this time. You're despicable.
I deserve that. And there's something else. I don't know how to say it, but I got someone pregnant.
What? Pregnant? I couldn't help but raise my voice.
I never expected things to turn out like this. Yesterday, I heard about the pregnancy for the first time, and it seems she's already 6 months pregnant. I still can't fully grasp it. But there's no choice. I have to be the child's father. So please, divorce me.
Fine. I'll grant the divorce. After hearing this, I can't imagine us continuing as a married couple.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Make sure you talk to your mother-in-law about this too, I said. Upon hearing that, my husband fell silent. Why are you suddenly so quiet? I asked. He hesitantly replied,
It's about my mother. Can you take care of her?
What? Do you even realize what you're saying?
I know I'm being selfish. But she can't handle childcare and caregiving. You understand, right?
You think you can ask for a divorce after all this? I retorted.
Is that not allowed?
It's only natural. If you want a divorce, be prepared to accept everything.
Understood. I'll figure something out.
With that, my husband retreated to his room. Even I, on that day, didn't want to think about anything. I took a bath and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up feeling strange. The room seemed tidier, with fewer belongings. Suspicious, I went to my husband's room. He was gone, and his things had disappeared. Oh my God. I sat there, stunned. On the bed lay a completed divorce form, accompanied by a note that simply said, "I'm sorry." And my caregiving dependent mother-in-law was left behind. As I contemplated our next steps, my hatred grew. There's no forgiveness. I resolved to take revenge. I acted swiftly. I I hired a private investigator to gather evidence of my husband's affair. Since we hadn't filed for divorce yet, we were technically still married. Apparently, my husband hadn't considered that. I quickly located him, predictably, at his affair partner's house. The evidence piled up within half of the investigation period, and I was ready. First, I explained everything to my mother-in-law. Despite my doubts, she understood clearly, as if she'd returned to her former self. The affair partner worked at the same company as my husband. My mother-in-law insisted on sending the evidence to his workplace. She said,
"This completes the first revenge."
A few days later, my husband contacted me. "Oh, what is it?" I responded calmly. He ranted over the phone.
It's crazy of you to collect evidence of an affair and to send it to the company.
"You're mistaken. I didn't send anything."
Then who did? You're the only one.
"Just me? Don't think this will end here. Abandoned mother by you, did it?" And I hung up. Despite the persistent phone calls, I ignored them. Then my mother-in-law arrived.
"Now, it's time for the next counterattack."
She returned to her room and seemed to be making a call. A few hours later, the intercom buzzed. A woman appeared on the screen. I recognized her immediately. It was my husband's affair partner. Her face matched the one I'd seen in photos. Astonishingly, my mother-in-law had called her and invited her over. I retreated to my room, leaving my mother-in-law to handle the affair partner. My room was far from the living room, so I waited until the affair partner left before asking my mother-in-law about the conversation. It seemed the affair partner was unaware of my mother-in-law's situation. My mother-in-law explained to me,
"If you marry my son, you'll also be responsible for my care. Are you okay with that? In the near future, I won't be able to use the bathroom alone. Will you still marry my son?"
The affair partner appeared perplexed.
"Now, let's see how this unfolds."
She seemed incredibly amused. Had her dementia improved? I wondered. And little did I know that my mother-in-law's actions would lead to an unexpected outcome. The next day, the intercom buzzed, and I saw my husband on the monitor. "What can I do for you?"
I was wrong. I want to talk.
I invited him into the house to hear his unexpected revelation.
I broke up with the affair partner. The child isn't mine.
Upon further discussion, it turned out the affair partner had multiple partners. Although she likely knew the child wasn't his, she wanted to raise it as my husband's due to his status and financial stability. However, fearing the responsibility of caregiving, she confessed the truth to my husband after speaking with my mother-in-law.
I deeply regret my actions. Can we start anew?
The answer is already clear. Leave this house immediately. Also, the divorce papers haven't been filed yet. You missed some details. With evidence of your affair, I'll be claiming alimony. Please comply. I handed him the divorce papers with a smile.
Please have mercy.
Take responsibility for your actions. With that, I kicked him out. Shortly afterward, my mother-in-law returned from the hospital, accompanied by my sister-in-law. I updated them on the situation.
He brought this upon himself.
My mother-in-law expressed genuine gratitude.
I truly appreciate everything you've done. Taking care of me and dealing with our terrible son. I apologize. Now that my daughter will look after me, enjoy your second chance at life."
Tears welled up in her eyes. The next day, my mother-in-law moved to my sister-in-law's house. When I inquired about her condition, I learned that while her dementia had slowed somewhat due to medication, it hadn't been cured. As for me, inspired by my mother-in-law, I decided to pursue caregiving. I'm currently studying for a caregiving qualification, hoping to help others. I'm sincerely grateful to her for instilling this desire in me. I genuinely wish for her to live a long life, delaying the progression of her dementia as much as possible.
What did you think of this story? Please also subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.